Hey everyone, HeatherMason76 here. This is a response video to NT1138's Top 3 Tuesday for this week, brought to you by classicmetalfan22! Wow! Anyway, his top 3 for this week is top 3 games you would show a friend to introduce them to a new console. Okay, I decided to do two different ones. Reason being, classicmetalfan22 is an awesome dude. You should definitely check out his channel. He's got a couple little videos between pickups and stuff like that. Plus, he's actually, like Ed had just said, he's actually editing these videos. Me, I still need to edit mine because, yeah, I have no editing program, and I really need to learn to use one that's at least worth a damn, besides Windows Movie Maker, because that thing is a piece of trash. It's trash. Anyway, yeah, so, top 3 games you would show a friend to introduce them to a new console. classicmetalfan22 wanted people to do the Sega Saturn, and just like classicmetalfan22, I recently got a Saturn as well, and I got it a few months ago, a couple months ago. I would say I got it probably like in March or April, pretty sure like end of March, beginning of April, and it was hard to find some of the games, but it's really not that hard. It's kind of a gimme to really find the Saturn games for a decent price, and right now I'm kind of in the money pit, so it's kind of hard to keep shopping for them. But the ones that I have right now are pretty much the games that I really wanted when I first got my Saturn in the first place. So I'm okay with it. But the top 3 games that I would definitely recommend to people for the Sega Saturn are as follows. Number 3 for me would be, if you are a fan of anything like survival horror, like Resident Evil, Clock Tower, whatever. This game's really interesting. It's kind of on this creepy, scary side, which is good. It has good ambiance and stuff like that. It's called D for the Sega Saturn. I've heard really good things and bad things about this game, but if you really enjoy the game for what it is, you'll really enjoy it, and I actually pretty much enjoy it. I've only played it just a little bit of it, but it's enough to really tell that it's definitely up my alley for survival horror and all that kind of deal and scary stuff. So yeah, definitely check out D for the Sega Saturn. Number 2 would be Nights. Now Nights into Dreams was really fun because you could use the 3D circle pad. I don't think you really have to, but to get the best feel for it, for all the loops and stuff that Nights can do, you're better off getting it. But it's really fun, and it really made the 3D joypad completely worth having for that game alone. And I really thoroughly enjoy that game. So yeah, definitely Nights is definitely a must-have for any Sega Saturn owner. Number 1 for me, of course, is the one that I had a nostalgia bomb with when I first got my Saturn, which actually made me go hunting for Saturn in the first place. It's called Panzer Dragoon. Now, the only question I have to ask you with this game, seriously, who wouldn't want to fly on the back of a dragon? Seriously, who wouldn't? I'm pretty sure you can't think of any reason as to why you wouldn't want to at all. So, yeah, number 1 for me is Panzer Dragoon. It was fun. Like, you're riding on the back of a dragon, you're shooting things in the air, you're shooting ships that are shooting back at you, you're diverting, like weaving back and forth between these little columns in the ocean, like the landscapes and stuff. It's really cool. Like, I really, really did enjoy this, and it's a shame that they didn't keep on the series. Mind you, they had a Panzer Dragoon Orta for the Xbox, but it's one of those things where I just kind of wish they could have kept going, and we could have had another Panzer Dragoon. Like, think how great that would be right now. It'd be amazing. Anyway, yeah, so those are my 3 for Sega Saturn. For my ode to classicmetalfan22. Okay, now, my personal one was going to be the PlayStation 1. Now, actually, these 3 games were actually the ones that got me actually wanting to get the PlayStation, and actually, these were the first games that I originally got too, because these were the ones that my friends actually had me try or had me watch play or had me, you know, just showed me or whatever that actually really got me into wanting this console. So for number 3 for me, especially if you're a big RPG fan, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, she's picking Final Fantasy VII, isn't she? Because, you know, it's so... Actually, you're wrong. I'm not picking Final Fantasy VII. I'm picking Grandia, bitches. You know why? It was such a good RPG. The story's amazing. The leveling of the characters I thought was pretty good. You could level your weapons, level your magic, and then whatever level you would have, you could get certain other moves. And some of the moves were like amazing. Like there's one with Fina where like if you're level 99 for certain things, of course you have to spend hours upon hours upon hours. But at the same time, it's like 30 hours per disc, I think, and there's 2 discs, so it's like 60 hours worth of gameplay, which was really good for RPGs back then. And it was really fun. And like I said, the story's really good, the music's really well done, the characters are fun, the leveling system isn't bad, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And it was one of the first real RPGs I actually played. I didn't play Chrono Trigger, I didn't play Chrono Cross, I didn't play Final Fantasy VII first. I played Grandia, and Grandia was what got me into RPGs. It's a really fun RPG, so definitely check this out if you haven't yet, anyway. Okay, so for anybody who hasn't played a survival horror before, now, at first this was going to be a 3-way tie, but I decided to do this game because this is the one that actually got me into the franchise in the first place. It's going to be Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation. Okay, Resident Evil 2, even though it's not the first one did come out on the PlayStation, but 2 was the first one that I played, and because of the opening scene, it kind of gives away what happens in the first game anyway, so you kind of understand a little bit of the backstory to see what happened, so it doesn't make you feel like you've missed out on too much when you actually start playing it, so it's not that big of a deal. But I actually started playing Resident Evil 2 before Resident Evil 1, but when I went back, regardless of how much love and respect I have for the original Resident Evil 2 will always be bar none my favorite game ever, because they had it where there were 2 separate discs. There was one with Claire and one with Leon. And depending on which disc you started with first, or which character you started with first, you would have an A game and a B game. And that was really fun because you could play with Claire first and then Leon, or you could play Leon and then Claire. And then, depending on how many times you would finish it within a certain amount of time and get a decent ranking, you can unlock extra things, like playing as Hunk, playing as a piece of tofu with a Beretta on your head, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, definitely a pick for me was Resident Evil 2 for survival horror. I know Silent Hill was pretty close on this list, but Resident Evil 2 was the first survival horror that actually got me into wanting a PlayStation. So yeah, Resident Evil 2. Alright, so for platformer for me, a lot of people are going to choose stuff like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. But me, the first platformer I ever played on the PlayStation was Klonoa. Klonoa is really fun. It's about this little dog that has this like little ring that shoots this little person, this little friend of his named Hupo out, and he captures all your little enemies and it blows them up, and you can use them as like a double jump, or you can throw them at the other enemies, or you can throw them at things and unlock things and whatever. It's really fun. So yeah, and you can run and jump and fly and glide and stuff like that, and it's super fun. Like, the levels are good, the music's good, the story's pretty good, and not only that, but it's made by Namco, and it's awesome because he has this little Pac-Man on his hat. So that's not a Namco stamp, I don't know what it is, but yeah. So yeah, this is definitely the best platformer to start with. I mean, mind you, Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, you can't go wrong with either, but personally, I started off with Klonoa, so definitely a good game. So yeah. Alright, so that was my top 3 Tuesday for both the sets, Ode to Classic Metal Fan 22 and the personal one for myself. So thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you guys later.